Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for a while now, I've been having thoughts swirling around my mind when it comes to the book community. As for someone who lives and breathes books, I also believe in healthy critical thinking. Every community, no matter what it is, has its quirks, where it has its issues, where it can be better. It's just a video that I've been thinking about for a while, and I've touched on a little bit of it when I did my book talk video, but this isn't so much about book talk, just the book community in general. I want to dive in more deeply about the books that we talk about, the books that we consume, things in books that I might not like. So grab your favorite drink, grab a blanket, settle in, and let's discuss about the book community. I'm going to try and break it up in points to articulate what I mean in certain things. And a lot of them go hand in hand, which is nice, but there's just a few things that have been at the forefront of my mind for a long time, and I just feel like I needed to get it off my chest. So maybe there's someone out there that agrees with my opinions, or maybe someone that actually hates them and despises them and doesn't like me for them. The first thing that I've been thinking about when it comes to the book community recently is the book to movie adaptations that have been on the trend for the past 2 years, I believe. Now, I remember when People We Meet on Vacation was announced and its casting, I was really excited for it. It's my least favorite Emily Henry book, but I do enjoy her writing. Emily Henry is one of my favorite authors. But then I heard that every single one of her books were going to be adapted into a movie or TV show, and that got me thinking that some books just do well strictly because of the book. Does every popular book on Book Talk need to be a TV show or movie? I feel like a book gains traction, people talk about it, and then Hollywood is like, yes, we need to do this. I don't know if they are just so incredibly not creative in Hollywood anymore. There's no original thought that they can compute anymore, so they're trying to grab at different things that stick. I mean, we're seeing it with the Lights Out TV show. It was announced that that's becoming a TV show. I enjoyed the book. Do I think it's going to be a good TV show? I honestly don't think so. I mean, there's countless Colleen Hoover books in the drama that happened with It Ends With Us. They're just pumping out these one-off romances, and I look back and I think of Hunger Games, of Divergent, Maze Runner, The Fifth Wave. All of those dystopian fantasy novels, I think they worked out, one, because it was a series, and two, it has amazing world-building plot to it. And even though that era was ripe with book-to-movie adaptations, these stories had expansive worlds, intricate plots, and they had high stakes, and they were epic too. I remember seeing Dylan O'Brien on screen running for his life in Maze Runner, Katniss Everdeen shooting arrows. That, I feel like, is a whole nother category. It's like the Venn diagrams. They're both book-to-movie adaptations, sure, but one works and one doesn't, and maybe it's because it's a series and fantasy, but also I was thinking about how they wanted to do Fourth Wing and ACOTAR as a movie or TV show, and I feel like that just doesn't work either. For some reason, we've regressed in Hollywood when it comes to CGI. Like, it looks terrible. You go back and you look at Transformers. It was like ahead of their time when it came to CGI, and now they CGI everything and it looks terrible. Sometimes the beauty of books lies in its intimacy, its internal monologues, or the specific way a story is unfolding in your own imagination. Now, I've heard some people, when they read books, they picture nothing, which I think is actually crazy. I don't know what I would do if I was a reader and I was reading and I couldn't picture anything in my mind. That's why I love reading, is I picture every little detail in my mind. But also I hear people, if it's a female main character, no matter what their skin color is, their hair color, their eye color, they put themselves as the female main character, and I don't do that, but I just think, you know what, pop off queen, I appreciate that, that's funny. It's crazy how people can't picture anything in their head when they're reading. So that's why I love reading so much, is because you develop your own kind of vivid imagination in your brain, and sometimes readers, because of that, do not like the pages to screen adaptations because it's different from what they imagined. Often these adaptations fall flat because of something that's inherently literary and not cinematic. Sometimes you just get it wrong. Whether you follow the script exactly or you go your own way with the storyline, many people aren't gonna like it. And that's the hard truth. You're seeing it with Wuthering Heights. I saw Wuthering Heights a few days ago and I thought it was okay. I don't think it was great. I honestly don't think it was a tragic love story as what it's painted, but also I just felt no connection between the main characters. When people were crying at the end of the movie, I was sitting there, and usually I am a crier. In a movie, I try really hard not to cry. I don't cry with really anything else, but I felt nothing at the end. And I don't know, that can't just be a me problem because other people are voicing it. Now there's other issues that people have with the book when it comes to race, and those are all valid. I haven't finished the book, so I don't really know. I mean, I kind of understand what's gonna happen because I've seen videos of people talking about the plot line because I'm so confused with all of the names. Like, why are they repeating the same name? Why is Mr. Earnshaw the father, and then all of a sudden you start calling the son Mr. Earnshaw and you're confused because they're not the same person, but they now have the same name. There's two different Kathys. Like, what? Anyways. Okay, this next point that I want to talk about is very nitpicky, but it ruffles my feathers sometimes just because of the processing that it takes. And that is finding grammatical errors in books. I mean, seriously, like when you really think about it, you go through different drafts. Then it goes to editors and more editors and more editors. Then it gets pushed out to readers and ARC readers, sensitivity readers, if need be. You're telling me that all of those steps that it went through for people to look and read at, they didn't catch anything? I don't know why it ruffles my feathers, and it used to really take me out of reading, but now I just kind of move on. But I don't understand it and how that even occurs. Also, the fact that more and more authors are writing problematic things. There was one author that talked about a doctor sexually assaulting a patient, I believe, and you're telling me that that storyline made it through all of those different people and the sensitivity readers published it, and not one person, not 5 different people, no one did anything? No one said anything that, hey, maybe you shouldn't write about this. Like, I don't understand that. Books are really expensive now. I feel like books are a luxury now at this point, and you're telling me that there's something wrong with it. The next one I've touched on briefly before in my book talk video, but it's the concept of tropes. I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. When I first started my YouTube channel, and last year, well, I mean, I started my YouTube channel I think like 2 years ago, talking about books, but I find myself gravitating to make videos about tropes. It's easy, it's clickable, you just talk about a trope, you recommend the book that follows that trope. However, what I've noticed more and more is authors, and I don't know if it's strictly just authors when they think of ideas, I don't know if it's like their publisher or their agent or whatever, I don't know much about the publishing world, but I don't know why they're so focused on tropes. And I kind of want to put micro-tropes and tropes in separate categories because I do love a good micro-trope. You don't write a whole book about a micro-trope, but I find more and more authors discussing books and writing books only trope-based, and then you lose the actual plot. It's like a reverse thing. Usually you make a plot, you have an idea, you find out what characters you want, and then you sprinkle some little tropes here and there. Not you think of a trope and write a story around that trope. I feel like when that happens, growth of characters, any fleshed out type of character isn't met. The standards aren't there. So many things get lost in translation, especially when it comes to like enemies to lovers. That really has made me mad over the past like year discussing enemies to lovers. And I know I've recommended books. I'm throwing myself in there. I've recommended books that are not enemies to lovers, and I say it's enemies to lovers. But now that I read more, I realize that they like hate each other for this much of the book and then love each other for this much amount of the book, and it's like, they're not enemies. Even when they hated each other for this amount of book, they still found each other attractive. But like I said, I made videos talking about best friends, brothers, enemies to lovers, all of these trope-like videos, and I'm trying to stray more away from that because it puts the book into a box and doesn't expand on anything else but that just one trope of that book, when there's so much more that happens. Recently reading new books, it feels more of like a checklist that the author has to do. Forced proximity, one bed, best friends to lovers. There was one book that had enemies to lovers, one bed trope, who did this to you? Like so many different tropes and micro tropes to it that I'm like, this can't be real. This cannot be a real book. And honestly, to go with that, I feel like tropes are huge spoilers. When you tell me that there's a second chance romance, boom, I already know what the whole book is about. You tell me it's accidental pregnancy, boom, I know what the whole book is about. When I try and describe a book now, I try and leave tropes out of it, and I know I gravitate towards that because it's just easier. It grabs people's attention. It's so much easier to grasp for people. But I know when I see certain tropes, it is a spoiler. Following that, the next point goes with the tropes and spoilers and all of that. And that's the idea of plot twists. This is something that particularly plagues the thriller genre. People need to stop saying there's a plot twist at the end of this book. Saying that there's a plot twist, particularly at the end of the book, I feel ruins the book. It makes me analyze every single thing in the book instead of just purely enjoying the book. I know when I hear, there's a major plot twist, you're never gonna guess it. I usually do because I'm hyper fixated on the different characters, the different background characters, the scene that we're in, what the narrator is saying. And one thing that I really don't like in the thriller genre is the unreliable narrator. I personally think that it's just lazy writing. I've seen so many thrillers where it's the unreliable narrator, but it just doesn't make sense. I feel like it's a cop-out. Not saying that it hasn't done well in certain books. I think there's been maybe one book that I was like, oh snap, I was not expecting that. But majority of the time I'm like, really? Really? That's the plot twist that we're going for? Is just the unreliable narrator? That's what we're doing? Okay. That's one of my pet peeves, as you can tell. A lot of these kind of are interconnected. This follows into my next point, summarizing books. I feel like we have lost the art in summarizing books. I've said this before, people just don't know how to summarize it. I don't mind if you say that you didn't like this book because of XYZ. Just don't have the XYZ be plot points, major plot points that happen in the book. You can say that you liked the book based off of the vibe and describe the vibe, not the content in the book. A good summary should entice, not reveal. There's so many videos that I've seen where people literally give out the end of the book and comments are like, thanks, just bought it, now I can return it and buy a new book. And then there's honestly people responding to that saying, I didn't think I ruined the book for you. There's so many other things that happen in the book. Yeah, of course other things happen. I would hope other things happen in the book than just the end. There's so many other things that you could say, so many different other quotes. Like if a man is swoon-worthy in this book and you want to give a quote, just a little excerpt of what this man says, his yearning, his love, his devotion to the woman, sure. In the right context, you know. If it's giving a key detail, maybe not. But if it's like, I will burn the world for you, you are beautiful, you are the light of my life. Obviously, I'm not a writer, so I don't. If it's something like that, I'd be like, I really like this man, maybe I'll give the book a try, you know? And I'm gonna leave it at that because I feel like I can go into a rant about summarizing books and all of that. Basically, that's just the major point, is stop giving things away. The next point that I want to talk about is not what's inside the book, but on the outside of the book and the idea of consumerism. I noticed about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, a increase in sprayed edges. I saw where it was going and I didn't like it because we're seeing a book, traditionally published book, and many of the times they do it to books that are a part of a series. They have 5 different books in the series. Years later, they republish the books in the series. Many of the times they use the same cover, but wait for it. They change the edges. They change the sprayed edges, okay? Instead of normal white, they do hot pink, blue, yellow, red, ugly, bright colors. Why would we want that? Now, as you can see, I do have some sprayed edges. I don't have hot pink or anything like that, but if I had to buy a book that had spray edges, I want it to be beautiful. I want there to be a elegant design. I don't want hot pink. Immortal Dark. Love this. Onyx Storm is the only one that I have, but like Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, that has sprayed edges. It's nice. It's not bad. It goes with theme. Alchemized. I specifically bought this for the sprayed edges because I just thought it was really beautiful. I'm a moon girl. Love the moon. Love her. But it gets to a point that's really annoying to me, that the publishing world just thinks that people love this series so much that they're going to buy 5 different covers, something about it that's different. It's the same content. And they actually win with this because people actually do buy 5 different versions of their favorite book. Now, they can do whatever they want with their money, but I think it's really frustrating that, say you want to read a series. Like, for example, I have the Binding 13 series. I have the first book in that series. I bought it with the ombre spine. I didn't know that that was a like limited edition kind of thing that they were doing. All of the rest of the series came out. I didn't want to buy the rest of the series, so I still had the first book, never got around to reading it. The ombre versions are now gone. They're no longer releasing it. So now I'm stuck with the first book as an ombre spine. And if I like the series, the rest of them are gonna have a black spine. I think it rattles me a little bit because they changed the covers so much. The same thing with the Chestnut Springs series. They changed the covers so much. And I understand if it's an indie cover and then it gets traditionally published and they have to change the cover, I understand that. But if it's an already published, traditionally published book and it hasn't even been out for 2 years yet and you're changing the cover or just adding sprayed edges to it with no bonus, even if there was a bonus chapter, it's the same exact content in the book. It just is so icky to me that the publishing world does that because they know people are going to buy it, pushing the aesthetically pleasing consumerist agenda onto readers instead of maybe let's not focus on the cover, let's focus on the inside. Let's make the content good. And speaking of the publishing industry, there's a few more points that I want to talk about that dive into how I feel about it and what's been happening, particularly I don't know how to, particularly with authors' sustainability and quality, putting immense pressure on authors who are already writing books and they feel the need to push out 3 different books, 4 different books in a year. But when authors are forced into tight deadlines, I feel like the quality inevitably suffers. It's impossible for authors to publish 3 genuinely thought out beautiful works of literature in a year. They have to be compelling, they have to be thought out. I feel like it leads to underdeveloped characters, rushed plots, more grammatical errors, and a general feeling of sameness that's in the industry. I feel like it makes it harder for exceptional work to stand out. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. I've heard many people on TikTok talk about how there's a likeness in many different books, specifically fantasy books. They kind of all follow the same structure and it's hard to find a unique work of literature. And it does a disservice to not only the authors but also the readers, the people who are looking for genuinely captivating stories. I would rather have an author take a year off to craft such a beautiful book than pump out 2 different stories in a year. There was a content creator, a girl, that I don't know if she was just rage baiting, called people names and said that she doesn't trust them because of the book recommendations that she gets on Book Talk and that she doesn't trust them. I think the delivery was wrong. I really did agree with what she was saying. I think we need to put more responsibility on the publishing world and what they choose to put out there. You know, not everyone is an author. Not everyone can write a story, a deeply compelling story. But I don't think that we should condemn readers for reading stuff like that and putting our focus towards better storylines, quality books that are being pushed out. I'm glad that more people are reading and taking the time to figure out what kind of genres they want to read, but also there's a negative cloud that sometimes follows Book Talk because I feel like every week there's some type of drama. Frankly, it's exhausting and people don't want to talk about the legitimate issues that occur on Book Talk because someone's just constantly yapping. I think her argument about a literary deficit in our world was one to be discussed, but because of her delivery, her tone, her name calling, the tone was discussed more than the content of her video. And it got people talking, but it was more that she was just a mean girl and not that we actually have an issue with reading and how there's a decline with reading, but I don't think that that's book talk issue. I think people not being smart anymore. I think that goes way beyond the book community. Those are my thoughts. Those are everything that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully this isn't too long of a video. I really wanted to condense it. There's so much more that I could talk with each topic because I feel like it's just so more nuanced with every single point. And I love hearing different people's point of views too, because someone can voice their opinion to me and I can now see it from their point of view. We still might not agree, but there's still discussion that's happening. And that's all I want. I want critical thinking to occur. I feel like we've lost the art of critical thinking, holding people to a standard. Indie authors have to do so much more. They have to do their own marketing. A lot of authors are in my comments asking if I only read traditional publishers and if I'm willing to give their book a chance. And of course I will. I want to support indie authors. Here comes a traditionally published author like Tessa Bailey who pumps out books over and over and over and over again and people will buy them. Or Megan Quinn. People like that. People find it funny. I don't, but they're still buying the books and I feel like we should help indie authors as well. That's all I'm gonna say. Do you disagree or agree with some of these things? And are there any pet peeves that you have with the book community? Let me know in the comments below. With anything, things get irkable. Irkable's a word. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos to come. If you want to follow me on any other social media platforms, I will have them linked down below in the description. I hope to be seeing you in the next video and happy reading. Bye.